Cool. So yeah, got a recording going. Right. So I've been making these little slab built pictures, and you know, it's a little bit of a next step in the process from like those cups and bowls and things like that. So like this texture right here is from, you know, this like little silicone trivet that I got at Hy-Vee, right? So there's some really fun things that are going on with it, like the circle is where, you know, you can hang it on a nail, right? But for decorative purposes, it works really nicely on the handle side, right? So this is kind of a full pressing of that, and this little creamer is cut in half, right? So just pinching that together on both sides, right? And so I've been really enjoying this. So for slab building and getting texture and things, you know, there's all sorts of patterns that you can use, like these little cheapo shelf liner doilies. So I'll go over a plate, and I'll go over how I put this together really quickly, right? And then perhaps another demo, I'll demonstrate how to pinch and make a spout. It'll be more in depth. And then this is the first one that I made of the series, so it's a little clunky, right? The bottom is a little rough, but the handle works kind of nice. And this is a hollow handle, so I can show people how to make that as well too. So really kind of enjoying. Isn't it pretty fun?
It was intentional. One looks like a sinking with a steak, and the other looks like a fish.
Right, it's totally just random. Yeah, so like finding this thing has like been one of the most successful things in my life. I love this thing. I use it to texture my handles, and so just be conscious of what you might be missing down your baking aisle at Hy-Vee, right? So we have that canvas and dowel rod underneath your workstations, right? For people who it's been a while, you know, using the slab roller and things like that. This gives people an opportunity not to wait for a slab roller, and I like it. I think you can roll out slabs fairly easily and even more successfully, right? So for the people who were in my class last semester, you know, bear with me. So these slats we'll use to cut a slab of clay. So I'll use this red clay that we have, and people are more than welcome to use it, right? So it doesn't have to be an even cut, just has to be even enough, right? And so if I press my wire down on my boards and pull my wire through. And this clay is really kind of dry. It's been sitting around since last year. So a little difficult, but now we have a nice even slab. And this works out for another slab for me to roll out. So I can save that, put it to the side. I'll recycle this guy that I don't need any longer. And so now we're ready to roll out our slab. We can take our cutting slats and put them away. Then we'll use our masonite slats for rolling. All right. I just want to make sure that my dowel rod is wiped clean of any clay, so I don't want to leave any nicks. And then for rolling, we want to make sure that I have enough clay, right? So I'll spread out my clay, just like rolling cookie dough, right? This guy's a little on the stiff side, so it might take a little bit to wake up. I'll go back. I can, take a look, flip it down on the other side, and that usually kind of helps the process, right? If we had that slab roller, you'd be done by now, but what's the fun in that? Right, so my clay slab is wide enough, and now I'll stretch it out as wide as I can. And so always start at the center and roll out evenly. If you add too much pressure, you can change the shape of your slab a little too much. And pick up your slab because it'll stick to your canvas. Right? So every time you lift it up, it'll release and it'll roll out a lot easier on you. So if you notice, I didn't wedge this, right? This is just straight from the clay, the bag clay, the commercial clay. What's happening is I'm compressing it on the top and compressing it on the table, and it's going to be a really tightly made piece. It'll be nice and sturdy. Especially with the water content being a little dry. So these masonite slats are 1/4 inch. You can stretch this out a real good length. I could probably do one more. I want to try to get as much as I can out of this because hopefully there'll be enough for a plate. Right, so now with the slats all done and used, I can put all those away and begin working. So magic sock, right? Cornstarch, just to help it release. Don't need too much of it. But I want to make sure I'm using as much clay as I can. So just kind of eyeballing, which is totally fine. I don't want to take this all the way to the edge. And then with my dowel rod, pressing down with enough pressure. And you can just do it one time if you have enough pressure. Looks like I need a little bit more on the bottom here, right? And I'll just flip it. All right, so you see what's happening with this point is matching up with this point, and where that matches up on the piece is right there, right? So I kind of did this backwards. I was just kind of working and didn't think about this, but I made a conscious design choice in having this little circle match up onto the end where you'll pour, right? But this works out really nicely, having a smooth clay by the pour spout and on the base, right? So just kind of paying attention to things, right? So we'll see how this circle looks when it's matched up on the front side. Great. So with that pressed, I can start cutting off my ends. I want to have a nice flat bottom. So going back to my masonite board works really well as a straight edge, right? And with these, I don't need to do any beveled edges or anything like that, like on those cylinders I showed you all. Yeah, we'll just do a straight cut. I was just kind of thinking of if there was something else I wanted to change at a moment's notice. So in just using these lines, I'll cut the top half here, and then where this pour spout is, I want to make a nice curve. So just using what you have in the studio, like this bowl works really well for a nice curved edge. So this will work really nicely for my pour spout, right? So if I just lightly place it on, it's not gonna change anything. If I smash it down, it will, right? So just be careful of the pressure you add. Great. And so now I have this slab that normally I would keep for the bottom, but for the sake of time and demo, I'll make a plate with that guy. So now that I have my form, I just want to lift it up real quick just to release it. And roll under my cylinder. And I want to make sure that the bottom matches up, right? So the base of my cylinder form matches up with the base of my slab. Is when I move to place it upright, and I want it to sit level, right? So the holding it correctly, right? If I just leave it, if I don't put my left hand here, it will just fall off, right? And flop off. So just carefully taking it and setting it upright like that. And then we can begin scoring and putting the edges together. So this will kind of hold it up. It's a little tall and the slab is a little on the thin side, so it's not quite self-supporting. And then with these edges, I'm scoring the corner of it and making a little bit of a bevel. So don't be afraid to score this up. We want some really gnarly clay nodules, right? So now that's all nice and prepped. I'll add my water on both sides, and then I can begin kind of lightly tacking this together, right? The bottom is always kind of the tricky part here. If you take your time with it, and then lightly pinch the seams together, I'll lose a little bit of the texture, but you know, that's okay. It'll be even, right? And so now that's connected, it's self-supporting, right? And I can always, you know, bump out the area that I need. So if I need to move the inside just to kind of belly things out a little bit, I'll do that, right? So now I have my pour spout. We'll see how well this goes, but I'll just slightly pinch this. And that'll take care of that sharp cut edge, right? So right now it's a rather flat pour spout. It'll just kind of pour out wherever. And this is a really nice marking for a pitcher, because I'll pinch these sides here and then I'll pull this out with my fingertip. Okay, so holding right here where this line matches up to the other side, it'll make a nice even spout. So with just a little bit of water, pinching, and then working this out. And this takes just a little bit of time to kind of figure out, right? And you can accentuate the spout a little bit by pinching this together like that, right? So I could probably pinch this out a little bit more to give more of a height to it, but you know, if you want to play around with it a little bit more, if I pinch this side in, it'll be more of like a water can. Maybe we'll do that. Yeah, it'll be fun. Right. So just kind of playing around with the form. We'll close in the top here and maybe make a oil can or something like that. Yet another fun iteration of this, right? So the only open spot right now is here, right? And that just kind of changes the look of everything, right? And just to refresh people's memory, right, for a bottom, place it on a slab, trace it out, cut it, and then add it on, right? We'll see if there's something else I can do with that. Those tripod feet have been pretty fun, so we'll see if that might work with this one, right? So, you know, yeah, building with slabs, right? You can have a little bit, I'll do another demonstration with slabs and things. It sounded like people were pretty interested with those block pressings, right? Which work out really well. And things don't always have to be so angular, right? Always lose things when they were like just here, which is always so funny. And it usually hides underneath the canvas. So there we go, right? So this is just enough to cut one of those out, right? So I'm just going to slightly roll this just to get a little bit more distance. And which I now do, right? So with pressure again, starting from one end, this is the thing about those dowel rods, they're 2 feet long, right? So just be careful. Have this hard plastic thing that's also in this little dowel rod, or this shelf texture, so it may show up, right? Yeah, there's a little bit right there. But from here, you know, looking at circles, we can use what we have available to us. Like these little tubs always work really well, right? So instead of, like, I could just cut all the way around this, right? But sometimes that takes too long, or, you know, it's not worth the effort if you're making a lot of these in a production. So, you know, cutting out circular things. We have a lot of circular things in here with those buckets. All right, so we have our cut little disc, and I'm gonna press into that and make like just a little circular plate, right? I don't think some people were with me in making those press plates, and some people were not. So I'll go over those square press plates at some time too, right? So for making like functional things, people were interested in making plates. You know, this is the quick and easy, down and dirty slab built plate, right? So we got our foam block that are up there, right? You can use your sponge too for this. So depending on how much of a lip you want to have on your plates, I think this one will be pretty nice, right? So using a wood block or some sort of wood press, press down into the foam, right? And stands up a little bit. They'll stick onto your mold, your template a little bit, but I have a nice little dish, right? The edge from that dowel rod made a really nice sharp edge around the clay plate, and it wrinkled a little bit because of, you know, a large amount of area going into a smaller space. But I don't think there's anything wrong with that. You know, if you want to keep things random and kind of fluid, like this works, right? Because if you do this again, you'll probably get a different shape than that, right? So little dishes. I've got a couple of these for spoon rests in my kitchen, right? And these are like bread and butter to a production potter. Like you could make, you know, how many of these in an hour and send it and sell them for like $10 a pop. And then like, that's your fee for the day, right? So just some things to think about, right? Let's see, I'm gonna grab something real quick. So this guy was staring at me in the face in my office, and it's just a random cup that I made with all those smaller press blocks, right? So as an idea, making those carvings and cutting that press block in half, and then, you know, making a little tripod foot, right? Kind of works out really nice, right? And this is, you know, wood fired in our anagama kiln here too. So the light's not really catching it too well. We'll have to come up and take a look at it, right? As far as like second day class goes, I think that's a good start, right? We can start generating ideas as the semester starts to move. I'll talk with people individually, we'll have group conversations about what people are interested in, what do you want to do, what are you working on. So from here on out, I'll focus our attention on certain things to do, like the stamp and stuff like that, right? And whatever else that you guys want to work on, we'll go from there, right? Any questions about anything? Oh, great. Yeah, so I'll fiddle around with some things here, and I'll check in with you guys. And it's 3:10 now. We have till 4:30 class time. So if you guys want to work on ideas, you want to work on clay, totally up to you guys. We, are out at 4:30 and no one else is here afterwards, right? So use your time wisely. Okay.